Join Dreamcard Announcer at Siesta Musica every Saturday from 2 to 4 in the afternoon dito sa inyong nag-iisang himpilan, Cool FM. Mapapakul ka dito!
Lahat ng drama, lahat ng tawanan, lahat ng iyong all-time hits. Ang tanging huntahan ng Masangnamaw, #1 sa Mega Manila, nationwide pa. Broadcasting from TVH Group of Networks. Dito lang sa inyong iisang himpilan. This is koolNews Early Edition.
Always early edition. So, yes, today is Tuesday, July 23rd, 2024, and we will be here to give you the latest morning headlines and from yesterday and today, along with the recap of the SONA 2024. So yes, let's get into it right now. So let's get my phone here. And of course, I'm going to connect my. Oh, it is already connected to the VPN. Okay. So I don't get ads on Inquirer. So here we go. Okay, let's begin. All right. So starting with the most exciting part, of course, the BOGOs have been banned, according to Marcos. Yes, it's official, as he announced in the last part of SONA. Philippine offshore gaming operators or POGOs are officially Bombo Marcos Jr. announced on Monday, said during his third State of the Nation address. I hereby and cease the operations of POGOs by the end of the year, he said. Following Department of Labor and Employment, in coordination with the administration's economic managers, to use the time between now and then to find new jobs for Filipinos who will be displaced. In his speech, the president emphasized that banning POGOs would solve many of the problems that the country has been encountering, but noted that it will not solve all of them. To solve all the problems that we have been suffering, all officials, workers in government, and most of all the citizenry must always be vigilant, principled, and think of the health of the nation, Marcos said. He then recalled the words of John Stuart Mill, whom he called a wise man: "Let not anyone sacrifice his conscience by the delusion that he cannot harm if he takes no part and forms no opinion. Bad men need nothing more to compass their ends than that good men should look on and do nothing." Concluding his speech, Marcos said, "Filipinos should fight wrong and evil. Let's always fight for right and good. Let us always love the Philippines. Let's always love Filipinos," he said. Marcos' stand on POGOs was one of the most awaited topics in his speech. Opposition to POGOs is mounting, with several lawmakers urging the president to completely ban them in the Philippines, pointing out that these only make the country a fertile ground for various crimes. Critics from the business sector, economic think tanks, and political groups cite the minimal economic distribution compared to significant social costs, including links to criminal activities such as human trafficking, kidnapping, and money laundering. POGOs have also driven up real estate prices, making housing less affordable. At the same time, concerns over national security and regulatory compliance further fuel the call for nation. The Philippines' ownership of the West Philippine Sea is not an imagination but a reality that will stay forever, President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. said during his third State of the Nation address. Marcos' remarks about the West Philippine Sea in his speech on Monday drew a standing ovation from lawmakers and guests after he insisted that the Philippines will continue to own the region as long as Filipinos love their motherland. The U.S. Philippine Sea is not merely a figment of our imagination, it is ours, and it will remain ours as long as the spirit of our beloved country, the Philippines, burns brightly, Marcos said in Filipino. We will strengthen and expand the awareness and knowledge of the entire nation, and we will ensure that it is passed on to our youth and future generations, he said. Marcos also appeared emotional while thanking the armed forces of the Philippines, the Philippine Coast Guard, and the country's fisherfolk for their sacrifices in guarding the country's territory. To our entire armed forces, the Coast Guard, and our fishermen in the West Philippine Sea, accept the heartfelt gratitude of the entire nation for your diligence and sacrifices, he said. Marcos has adopted an independent foreign policy where the government maintained a strong stance on owning the disputed region. Over his term, Chinese aggressive action led to different water cannon attacks, vessel collisions, and even an illegal boarding incident that injured a Filipino Navy officer. Without naming China, Marcos said the Philippines would continue to find ways to de-escalate tensions in contested areas without compromising our position and our principles. The Philippines cannot yield. The Philippines cannot waver, Marcos said. His remarks came after the Philippines and China agreed to a provisional arrangement for resupply missions to Filipino troops stationed at Second Thomas Shoal, which has been the focus of violent clashes in recent months. Manila is locked in a long-standing territorial dispute with Beijing over parts of the strategic waterway through which trillions of dollars worth of trade passes annually. Beijing claims almost the entire South China Sea and asserts its stance by deploying Coast Guard and other vessels to patrol the disputed waters and reefs. Philippine relations with China have been turbulent since Marcos took office in 2022, vowing to defend his country's claims to the West Philippine Sea. A series of clashes between Philippine and Chinese vessels at flashpoint reefs have fueled fears of a conflict that could drag in the United States due to its mutual defense treaty with Manila. The pact requires both parties to come to the other's defense in case of an armed attack against vessels, aircraft, military, and Coast Guard anywhere in the Pacific theater, which Washington says includes the South China Sea. The Philippines has also deepened defense cooperation with other countries, including Australia, France, and Japan, in the face of China's growing assertiveness in the waterway. Manila signed a key defense pact with Tokyo this month that will allow the deployment of troops on each other's territory. We are continuing to strengthen our defensive posture both through developing self-reliance and through partnerships with like-minded states, said Marcos, who received a standing ovation when he declared the West Philippine Sea is ours. Manila calls the South China Sea waters to the country's immediate west the West Philippine Sea. Beijing has brushed aside competing claims to the South China Sea from several Southeast Asian nations, including the Philippines, and an international ruling that its expansive claims have no legal basis. The Philippines, due to its location, is twice as vulnerable as neighboring countries to the effects of climate change, President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. said in his third State of the Nation address on Monday. As you can see in all the world, weather events are, as have been predicted, getting more extreme, such as torrential rains that instantly shift to scorching heat waves or vice versa, Marcos said. He said this is the reason the Philippines has become a proactive advocate for heightened climate responsibility and justice on the global stage. To this end, we have secured a seat on the Board of the Lost and Damaged Fund, and further, the Philippines has been selected as the host country for that fund, Marcos said. This will require an enabling law from Congress to confer the legal personality and capacity to the board. This welcome development shall complement all our climate adaptation and mitigation measures and give us a voice to access the needed financial assistance for climate change intuitives and impacts, he said. The LDF board is a financing facility created by the United Nations to help vulnerable countries cope with the increasingly costly and damaging impact of climate disasters. Marcos also announced that the Philippines have been elected to host the LDF board, beating out seven other contenders. Other countries considered to lead the LDF board were Antigua and Barbuda, Armenia, Barbados, the Bahamas, Tonga, Kenya, and Eswatini. In May, rising temperatures forced the government to shut down tens of thousands of schools, while increased demand stressed the country's already strained power supply. The widespread El Nino drought that began early this year ruined at least 5.9 billion pesos worth of farm produce. President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. started his third State of the Nation address on Monday by admitting that the country's economic gains may mean little if the prices of commodities are high. The hard lesson of this last year has made it very clear that whatever currently they're proudly burning our country as among the best performing in Asia means nothing to the Filipino who is confronted by the price of rice at 45 pesos to 65 pesos per kilo, the president said. While the statistics are good, it means nothing to our countrymen who face the reality of high prices of food, particularly rice, he added in Filipino. Marcos said his administration understands the people's concerns, assuring the public that the government is doing everything to address this problem. Sa kabila ng mga hamon ating kinakaharap na saksihan natin ang pinakamataas na ani ng palay sa bansa nitong nakalipas na taon. Pumalo ito sa lagpas 20 milyong tonelada, ang pinakamataas na ani mula noong 1987, he added. However, Marcos said last year's harvest was still short of the government's target of 16 million tons of rice annually. Lowering rice prices to 20 pesos to 30 pesos per kilogram was Marcos' campaign promise when he ran for president in 2022. 2 years into his term, a Pulse Asia survey showed that controlling inflation remains the top concern of Filipinos. A report from Pulse Asia released last July 12 showed that 72% of Filipinos believe that controlling inflation should be immediately addressed by the Marcos administration. It was followed by increasing the pay of workers, reducing the poverty, creating more jobs, and fighting graft and corruption in the government. Only 4% of the Filipinos said in the same survey that the administration was able to lower rice price. Alright, now let's get into the regular headlines. A grand stage for another historical presidential address, as House Speaker Martin Romualdez described it, was what President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. entered on Monday when he delivered his third State of the Nation address, while senators also walked into a newly renovated Senate building with the resumption of the 19th Congress. Guests of the presidential address finally got to see this grand stage up close, a major facelift of the Pabansa complex, home to the 300-strong house, to the cost of 20 million pesos. Among the biggest challenges were the north and south wings, fully renovated lobbies, now fully air-conditioned air hallways with glass doors. These once open air hallways serve as the red carpet area, where brand new touchscreen panels were also set up, displaying information about the SONA and Congress. New chandeliers were also installed in the rear entrance where Marcos entered going into the plenary hall. There were also multiple LED screens across the Batasan complex for live viewing. Another change was the classy blue turnal uniforms worn by the House staff. House Secretary General Reginald Velasco said the total budget for the preparations and execution of the SONA covers a range of essential expenses to ensure the event's success. Apart from the catering itself, the budget covered food and beverages for personnel like the police, Metro Manila Development Authority officers, and other support staff from the preparatory activities up to the event. Every peso allocated for the SONA is carefully scrutinized and managed to reflect the significance of this constitutionally mandated event while being conscious of public sentiments regarding the use of taxpayer money, Velasco said. He said it also had major renovations in time for the resumption of the 19th Congress on Monday. The six-story building, which the Senate has been renting from the government service insurance system, was so brightly lit that it made Senator J.B. Petrosito Mestizo or foreskin, Senator June Micosubiri said in jest. Senator Risa Hontiveros also liked the renovations made during the 2-month-long recess, from the carpet flooring to the refurbished committee rooms to the paintings borrowed from the National Museum and the Cultural Center of the Philippines. A place that looks bright, it's good. It should inspire us, all of us, to also make our work better, she said. According to Senate President Francis Escudero, the Senate shelled out only 2.1 million pesos amid a review of the ongoing construction of the new Senate building in Taguig City. We spent very little on this. Actually, most of these were only maintenance works and basic rearranging, Escudero said in a news briefing. Activists like Bayan President Renato Reyes slammed the tone-deaf pageantry associated with the SONA, saying that it showed how insensitive the ruling regime is to the delight of the people. It has been all image building and hardly any problem solving. Suspected Bamban Tarlac Real School snapped anew on Monday the preliminary investigation being conducted by the Department of Justice on the trafficking charge filed against her and 30 others, the second one this month. Fortunately for her, state prosecutors submitted a supplemental of it to include an additional respondent and 4 complainants in the case, extending her deadline for filing a counter affidavit to August 6, a new opportunity to explain her side to the proper form, according to Justice Undersecretary Nicholas Tai. Most of the respondents appeared, but Mayor Goa, Dennis Cunanan, and then the foreign respondents, they were not there, but were represented by a lawyer, T.Y., who heads the Interagency Council Against Trafficking, told reporters in an interview. The case stemmed from the complaint filed by the Presidential Anti-Organized Crime Commission and Criminal Investigation and Detection Group in the DOJ on June 21, alleging that Guo and the other respondents were involved in the operations of Philippine offshore gaming operators, Pogo Hubs in Bofu Compound in Tarlac Province. Her co-respondents are former government official and port bearer scam, Gompe Kunanan, Sihan Ri Jujin, Ho Ying Lin, Richel John Caron, Buang Si Yang, Telma Laranan, Rowana Evangelista, Rita Durate, Marley Joy Castro, Yu Sinhan Han, J. Milin Cruz, Rodrigo Punchante, and Juan Miguel Alpas. Authorities claim the Pogo Hubs, Hongsheng Technology, which subsequently became Zuan Technology, facilitated forced labor, human trafficking, only fraud, and investment scams. TY meanwhile said the additional respondent allegedly recruited people to work in the Pogo Hubs. As for the 4 additional complainants, they would prove the scamming activities in the Pogo Hubs, POCC spokesperson Winston Casio said. They also proved that they are not able to leave the area freely. They are imprisoned there. They are only given 1 day to get out, and there is also a reduction in their wages, he added. Aside from the trafficking charge, Guo is also facing arrest for repeatedly snubbing recent Senate hearings on the Pogo industry. In a Facebook post last week, the suspended Pamamaya said she was ready to face the allegations against her in a full trial and at the proper fall. Alright, so now we will have more headlines coming up along with the what's happening with the weather right here on koolNews Early Edition. Okay, so it is now 6:19, which is 19 minutes past 6, and we will be right back. All right, we're back here on Cool News Early Edition, and we'll be getting into the weather forecast in just a bit. So yes, we will be getting into a weather forecast in just a few moments. All right. We left off, let me just close the screen on my phone and get into it. Okay. All right. Okay. Let's continue. The Department of Justice (DOJ) on Monday condemned the fake video showing President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. allegedly using illegal drugs, saying it would pursue necessary actions to identify and prosecute those behind the material. The timing of State of the Nation address amazed the credibility of the president and at the hastily called press conference at Camp Krim ahead of the SONA, Interior Secretary Benjamin Abalos Jr. ordered ordered the Philippine National Police to form a task force to investigate the matter. I have known him for a long time and definitely those features aren't his, Abalos told reporters, referring to the man in the video. This is too malicious. It's so unfair to the president because he'll deliver his SONA today and just came out. The video, which was reportedly played during an anti-Marcos government rally in the United States, has since gone viral on social media. Abalos ordered the PNP to coordinate with the Department of Information and Communications Technology to investigate. In an ambush interview at the footage was clearly meant to defame me, not him, Bersamin added. Former President Rodrigo Duterte on Monday denied having a hand in the release of the video that his supporters claimed. In the statement, Duterte doubled down on his allegation the president was a drug user. The denial was the weakest form. First, who vouched for the authenticity of the hair follicle drug test is the best proof that his drug addiction, he said. Defense Secretary Gilberto Del Jr. said on Monday that the Philippines was hoping to seal visiting forces deals similar to the reciprocal access agreement. According to Terodoro, TRA with Japan, which allows it to deploy troops and equipment to Manila, will not be the last. Well, we are going to work on an RAA, hopefully with Canada, with France as my counterpart, Minister Le Cornu and I announced last year in a news channel interview. They will allow me with the Philippine Armed Forces within the Philippines. Aside from TRAA, which was signed on July 8 after 6 months of negotiations, the Philippines had similar visiting forces agreements with the United States and Australia. It is not all good news for motorists this week after local oil companies announced mixed movements in the pump prices of petroleum products effective on July 23, which is today. In separate advisories, the companies said the price per liter of gasoline rose by 10 centavos, while those of diesel and kerosene dropped by 40 centavos and 70 centavos respectively. Caltex and Cleveland implemented the price adjustment at the petroleum and petrol gas at 6 a.m. The Department of Energy DOE Oil Industry Management Bureau said globally, as well as slowed economic growth in China. Last week, fuel retailers slashed the prices per liter of gasoline by 16 centavos, diesel by 95 centavos, and kerosene by 1.15 pesos. Two senators rejoiced on Monday after President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. announced that the Philippine offshore gaming operators, even the legal ones, are banned in the country. For her part, Senate Deputy Minority Floor Leader Rizal de Rose said Marcos' pronouncement is a huge victory for the whole country. Translating to Pogo, I cannot express the joy and comfort that I felt when Pogo was finally banned in the country, said Hontiveros in a statement. To prove her point, Hontiveros said Pogos have brought innumerable and unspeakable social ills into the country. This is an important first of many steps that we must take in order to make accountable those who allow these crimes that these Pogos brought to proliferate here in our country, said Hontiveros. Senator Sharon Cachilla meanwhile praised Marcos for the latter's third State of the Nation address, Sona speech. I commend the President for an excellent and perfectly delivered speech that showed and proved that he listens and cares for the Filipino people, said Cachilla. Despite Marcos' Pogo pronouncement, both Hontiveros and Cachilla emphasized said hearings on Pogo will continue to demand accountability. The two, among their other colleagues in the upper chamber, have been calling on President Marcos to finally ban Pogos in the Philippines, emphasizing that these only made the country a hotbed of crimes. Alright, now let's get into the business headlines before we get into the news alert forecast, weather forecast, or cool for whatever you call it. Investors took the perfect opportunity on Monday to lock in profits amid jitters over President Ferdinand Marcos Jr.'s third State of the Nation address, Sona, prompting the local brews to erase last week's gains. By the closing bell, the Philippine Stock Exchange Index, PSEI, shed 1.70% or 79.64 points to 6,712.05. Meanwhile, the broader all shares index slipped by 0.77%, 89.98. A total of 531.62 million shares worth 6.101 billion pesos, stock exchange data showed. Claire Alfar, research analyst at Philstocks Financial Incorporated, said the Rose's decline was due to traders selling shares to secure profits from last week's four-session winning streak. At the same time, Alfar said investors were also waiting for Marcos' plan to meet the president's economic team maintain a growth target of 6% to 7% for the year. For the rest of Marcos' term, the government expects a 6.5 to 8% growth. Only property and mining firms ended in the green. Service-focused firms suffered the largest loss at 2.61%, as Index Heavyweight International Container Terminal Services Incorporated went down by nearly 4%. As for family-led video, Unibank Incorporated was the top traded stock as it slipped by 0.40% to 148.40 pesos per share. It was followed by the it was followed by Bank of the Philippine Islands, up 0.94% to 129 pesos. Island Land Incorporated, up 0.63% to 31.90 pesos. SM Investments Corporation, down 0.77% to 904 pesos. And SM Prime Holdings Incorporated, up 1.22% to 30.65 pesos each. ICTISI shed 3.79% to 355.80 pesos. Island Corp down from 2.85% to 580 pesos. Metropolitan Bank and Trust Corporation, or Co, down 4.42% to 66.90 pesos. Century Pacific Food Incorporated, down 0.08% to 33 pesos. And Blueberry Resource Corporation, down 2.70% to 8.57 pesos. Losers overpowered gainers, 107 to 72, while 60 companies closed unchanged. And through its partnership with Converge ICT Solutions Incorporated, Sky Cable Corporation may be able to expand its reach across the country without having to spend so much money. A work of development for ABS-CBN's corporation's loss-generating subsidy to leverage Converge's fiber networks, stretching over 700,000 kilometers across the country, connecting 60 million homes. Through the arrangement with Converge, we expect Sky and its subscribers to benefit from the world-class fiber network that Converge has built for over the last few years, Sky President and Chief Operations Officer Claudia Suarez said in the statement. For Converge, the deal will allow it to maximize its network and increase utilization of its over 8 million ports. This will be a revenue boost for Converge, consistent with similar arrangements with other players, as we are able to continue to monetize further our excess network capacity, Converge President and co-founder Maria Grace Oy added. China Bank Capital Corporation Managing Director Juan Paulo Collet said the collaboration could put Sky in a better position to compete in the market through better service quality and wider reach. It also practically relieves Sky from the heavy capital expenditures that would otherwise be needed to upgrade and expand its own broadband network, he added. This is seen to bode well for Sky, which has 4.5 billion peso debts, with nearly half due within 1 year. It also wrapped up losses amounting to 7.8 billion pesos last year, markedly higher than 391 million pesos in 2022, given the decline in pay TV customers, ABS-CBN previously reported. ABS-CBN President and CEO Carlo Katibak, who is also a director at Sky, said this deal was to superior customer experience. Early this year, Sky was incorporated under a 6.75 billion peso deal. Both parties eventually decided to terminate the contract without providing specific reasons. The aborted deal, which already secured regulatory approval from the Philippine Competition Commission, would have meant 4 billion pesos in gross proceeds for the media company. ABS-CBN previously said the cash inflow would be used to extinguish financial obligations and fund content creation. Last week, Pampanga-based businessman Dennis Uy's Clerk Network and Technology Corporation, the controlling shareholder of Converge, signed a memorandum of agreement with Data Lake Incorporated to boost satellite connectivity in the country. Data Lake is the country's reseller and integrator of Starlink, the internet satellite service provider owned by tech mogul Elon Musk. Alright, we are now getting ready for the cool weather as we will have some updates on what is with the Typhoon Karina with Rhea Torres.
Magandang umaga, narito po ang latest sa binabantayan natin na si Bagyong Karina as of 5 a.m. ngayong araw ng Tuesday. So unahin po muna natin yung latest satellite image. Itong sentro nitong si Bagyong Karina or si Typhoon Karina as of 4 a.m. ay huli itong namataan sa layong 380 kilometers silangan ng Apari, Cagayan. Nagtataglay po ito ng lakas ng hangin na umaabot ng 130 kilometers per hour malapit sa gitna at pagbugso na umaabot ng 160 kilometers per hour. Ang pagkilos po nito sa direksyong north-northwestward at sa bilis na 10 kilometers per hour, and kung makikita po natin dito sa latest satellite image, malaking bahagi pa rin po ng Luzon at Visayas. Asahan po natin na patuloy makakaranas ng maulan na panahon ng ngayong araw dulot ng epekto nitong si Bagyong Karina, pati na rin ang epekto ng enhanced southwest monsoon o hanging habagat. Alamin po natin mamaya yung mga areas na makakaranas po ng malalakas mga pagulan base po sa ating mga heavy rainfall warnings at yung mga weather advisories po na na-issue ng Pag-asa. Ito po yung ating latest forecast track as of 5 a.m. Base po sa ating latest forecast track, nakikita po natin na mananatiling malayo yung sentro nitong si Bagyong Karina habang binabaybay yung silangang karagatan ng extreme northern Luzon. And kung makikita din po natin, walang anumang bahagi po ng ating bansa ang nakapaloob dito sa cone of probability or yung area na posibleng lapitan ng sentro nitong si Bagyong Karina. Kung may landfall scenario man po tayo, most likely dito sa may north portion or northern portion ng Taiwan bago po tuluyang itong lumabas ng ating Philippine Area of Responsibility. At inaasahan po din po natin, medyo may kabilisan yung magiging pagkilos nito within the next 24 hours or sa darating na Wednesday. Asahan po natin or estimated na nasa layo itong 295 kilometers northeast ng Itbayat, Batanes. Pagdating naman po ng Thursday, estimated na nasa 450 kilometers hilagang bahagi or hilaga po ng Itbayat, Batanes yung sentro nitong bagyo, at inaasahan po natin by Friday ay nasa labas na po ito ng ating Philippine Area of Responsibility. At kung makikita din po natin sa ating latest track forecast, itong area na highlighted ng yellow, yan po yung malalakas na hangin na dala nitong si Bagyong Karina. At kung makikita po natin dito sa may eastern section ng Luzon, ay may ilang bahagi po ng ating bansa ang naapektuhan ng malalakas na hangin na dulot nitong bagyo. Kaya nakataas po yung tropical cyclone wind signal number 1 sa ilang bahagi po ng Luzon. Particularly, ito po yung areas na highlighted ng light blue. Nakataas po ang signal number 1 sa Batanes, sa Babuyan Islands, northern at eastern portions ng mainland Cagayan. Pati na rin po sa eastern portion ng Isabela. Nakataas din po ang tropical cyclone wind signal number 1 sa northern portion ng Apayao, northern portion ng Ilocos Norte, northern portion ng Aurora, pati na rin sa Polillo Islands, Calaguas Islands, at northern portion ng Catanduanes. Sa mga nabanggit pong lugar, asahan po natin yung malalakas na hangin na dala nitong si Bagyong Karina. Pagdating naman po sa mga pag-ulan, meron po tayong mga pag-ulan na dulot ng epekto ni Bagyong Karina at mga pag-ulan na dulot naman ng hanging habagat. Itong mga pag-ulan po na ito ay dulot ng epekto or direktang epekto ni Bagyong Karina. Ngayong araw, asahan po natin yung 100 to 200 millimeters or heavy to intense na mga pag-ulan sa Batanes at Babuyan Islands. Samantalang 50 to 100 millimeters naman po inaasahan or moderate to heavy rains sa Ilocos Norte, Ilocos Sur, La Union, Abra, Benguet, Apayao at Cagayan. Pagdating naman po bukas, mostly dito sa may extreme northern Luzon, mararanasan yung malalakas na pag-ulan dulot ni Bagyong Karina. Nasa heavy to intense rainfall, mararanasan sa Batanes. Pagdating naman po sa Babuyan Islands, nasa moderate to heavy yung inaasahan ng mga pag-ulan. And pagdating naman po ng Thursday, bahagyang hihina po yung mga pag-ulan, although moderate to heavy pa rin inaasahan sa may area naman ng Batanes. So ito po ay yung latest heavy rainfall warning issuances ng ating Pag-asa Regional Services Division. Base po ito sa heavy rainfall warnings ng Northern Luzon PRSD, NCR PRSD at Visayas PRSD. Nakataas po yung orange rainfall warning or orange heavy rainfall warning sa hilagang bahagi ng Occidental Mindoro as of 5 a.m. at nakataas din po yung orange rainfall warning sa Ilocos Norte. Ibig sabihin po niyan, mataas yung posibilidad ng mga pagbaha sa mga susunod oras sa mga nabanggit na lugar. Samantalang yellow rainfall warning naman po, nakataas sa Cavite, Batangas, dito po sa Metro Manila, pati na rin sa Bataan, sa katimugang bahagi ng Occidental Mindoro, Palawan, Ilocos Sur, Cagayan, Abra at Apayao. Yung Cagayan po, kasama po dyan ang Batanes at Babuyan Islands. Warning ay mataas po, may posibilidad ng mga pagbaha, lalong-lalo na sa mga low-lying areas. So ingat po sa ating mga kababayan sa mga nabanggit na lugar. Pagdating naman po sa mga pag-ulan na dulot na epekto nitong southwest monsoon o hanging habagat, base po ito sa ating latest na weather advisory issued kagabi ng alas 11. So asahan po natin ngayong araw based po sa ating weather advisory na malalakas mga pag-ulan ang mararanasan sa malaking bahagi ng ating bansa dito po sa areas ng Metro Manila, Ilocos Region, Abra, Benguet, Zambales, Bataan, Cavite at Occidental Mindoro. Asahan po natin yung heavy to intense na mga pag-ulan ngayong araw. Samantalang sa areas naman po or sa nalalabing bahagi ng Cordillera Administrative Region, sa Tarlac, Nueva Ecija, Pampanga, Bulacan, Rizal, Laguna, pati na rin sa Batangas, Oriental Mindoro, Romblon, Aklan, Antique, at sa hilagang bahagi po ng Palawan kasama ang Cuyo at Calamian Islands. Asahan po natin ngayong araw ang moderate to heavy na mga pag-ulan. Pagdating naman po bukas, heavy to intense pa rin po inaasahan sa La Union, Pangasinan, Benguet, Zambales at Bataan. Samantalang magpapatuloy pa rin po yung moderate to heavy na mga pag-ulan dito sa Metro Manila, sa Ilocos Norte, Ilocos Sur, nalalabing bahagi ng Cordillera Administrative Region, sa Tarlac, Nueva Ecija, Pampanga, Bulacan, Rizal, Cavite, Laguna, pati na rin sa Batangas, Occidental Mindoro, Oriental Mindoro, sa Antique at northern portion ng Palawan kasama ang Cuyo at Calamian Islands. Samantalang pagdating man po ng Thursday, bahagyang hihina po yung mga pag-ulan na mararanasan natin, pero asahan pa rin po yung heavy to moderate to heavy na mga pag-ulan sa areas po ng Ilocos Region, Abra, Benguet, pati na rin sa Zambales at Bataan at Occidental Mindoro, pati na rin sa may Calamian Islands. So mostly ito po yung mga exposed parts sa may western section ng Luzon area. So yung mga areas po na nabanggit natin na posibleng makaranas ng mga pag-ulan ngayong araw hanggang sa mga susunod na araw, pinag-iingat sa mga posibleng pagbaha o pagguho ng lupa dulot ng mga malawakang pag-ulan. Pagdating naman po sa mga lalakas na hangin, yung areas po nakataas yung Tropical Cyclone Wind Signal number 1, ay asahan na po natin yung malalakas na magpagbugso ng hangin dulot ng epekto nitong si Bagyong Karina. Pagdating naman po sa mga malalakas na hangin na dulot naman nitong southwest monsoon, asahan po natin yung strong to gale force gusts or yung pagbugso ngayong araw sa Ilocos Region, Abra, Benguet, Nueva Vizcaya, Quirino, Zambales, Bataan, pati na rin sa Aurora, dito po sa Metro Manila, Calabarzon, Mimaropa, Bicol Region, Visayas, Zamboanga Peninsula, Northern Mindanao at Davao Region. Pagdating naman po bukas, malalakas na mabugso ng hangin din po mararanasan sa Babuyan Islands, Ilocos Region, Abra, Benguet, Nueva Vizcaya, sa Quirino, Central Luzon, dito po sa Metro Manila, pati na rin sa Calabarzon, Mimaropa, Bicol Region, Visayas, Zamboanga Peninsula at Northern Mindanao. Pagdating naman po ng Thursday, asahan pa rin po natin yung strong to gale force gusts o yung mga malalakas na pagbugso dito po sa Batanes, Babuyan Islands, Ilocos Region, Cordillera Administrative Region, Nueva Vizcaya, sa Quirino, Central Luzon, dito pa rin po sa Metro Manila, Calabarzon, Mimaropa, Bicol Region, Western Visayas, Negros Occidental at Northern Samar. Sa kalagayan po ng ating karagatan, as of 5 a.m. ay nag-issue po tayo ng gale warning dito sa may hilagang bahagi or hilagang baybayin ng Northern Luzon. Nakataas po ang gale warning sa areas ng or sa karagatan ng Batanes at Babuyan Islands. So delikado pong pumalaot lalong-lalo na yung may mga maliit na sakyang pandagat. Gayon din sa may western seas or sa kanlurang karagatan ng ating bansa at silangang karagatan ng Luzon area. Nasa moderate to rough seas or katamtaman hanggang sa maalon na karagatan ang mararanasan. Kaya pinagpaypayo na po natin yung ating mga kababayan na may mga maliit na sakyang pandagat. As much as possible po, wag po muna tayong pumalaot. So ito po yung summary ng ating track forecast or magiging pagkilos nitong si Bagyong Karina sa mga susunod na araw. So generally, kikilos pa rin po ito generally northwestward to northwestward ngayong umaga hanggang bukas. At mananatili po itong typhoon category hanggang paglabas po ng ating Philippine Area of Responsibility. Gaya po ng nabanggit natin kanina, kung may landfall scenario po tayo, ay most likely dito sa may northern portion ng Taiwan bago po ito lumabas ng PAR possible by Wednesday evening or Thursday ng umaga. At yan muna po ang latest mula dito sa Pag-asa Weather Forecasting Center. Ako po si Rhea Torres. Ingat po tayong lahat. Araw as in dito sa may extreme northern Luzon, mararanasan yung malalakas na rainfall, mararanasan yung inaasahan ng mga pag-ulan. Moderate pa rin inaasahan sa may area naman ng Batanes. Ayaw yung Cagayan po, kasama po dyan ang lalong nabanggit na lugar. Dulot na epekto, latest, asahan po ulan ang areas ng Mes Bataan to intense na mga pag-ulan ngayong araw.
Okay, sorry about that, but yeah, that was the weather update. Again, now what you have just saw was we will be experiencing the heavy rains here. So yeah, stay safe and take care out there, everyone. All right, it is now 7 minutes before 7, and we will be getting ready for 7 a.m. hour. So, Cool News Early Edition will be right back.
is koolNews Early Edition.
And it is now 7:01, and if you have just joined us for Cool News Early Edition, well, welcome to Cool News Early Edition, where we will cover some of the morning headlines that you might have missed from yesterday and today as well. So we will be here until 9 o'clock to serve you the headlines. Alright, let's start. Okay, give me a second. Okay, so let's look for the brand new headlines. Okay, let's just refresh the page. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Oh boy, okay. Okay, let's start with the international headlines as US Vice President Kamala Harris on Monday compared her election rival Donald Trump to predators and cheaters as she attacked the first former US leader to be convicted of a crime. Speaking of her past as a prosecutor in California, Harris told campaign staff, "In all those rules, I look on perpetrators of all kinds. Perpetrators who abuse women, fraudsters who rip off consumers, cheaters who broke the rules for their own gain. So hear me when I say I know Donald Trump's type." Alright, give me a second. There is. So, in case you have missed the Sona or you didn't watch it because it's too long, well, let's have we will have some other highlights to showcase what Marcos has sold out, what Marcos has covered so far in his Sona. So here are the other highlights of the issues discussed in President Ferdinand Marcos Jr.'s third State of the Nation address. Legislative wish for the proposed national budget to be approved in a timely manner and adhered to as closely as possible following increased budget, especially in health and education. Implement pre-border technical verification and cross-border electronic invoice of imported commodities. Cardigan centers will continue operations and more will be added across the nation. Irrigation dams will supplement all bulk water projects to ensure water security. Phase 2 and 3 of the National Fiber Backbone Project will commence this year and be completed by 2026. Unified Philippine Grid connecting the power grids of all three major island groups. Congress asked to check if APIRA Electric Power Industry Reform Act needs revision to fit the country's current power industry situation. Build more hospitals and super health centers in local government units. Each province will be provided with a mobile clinic in the future to provide people with easier access to laboratory exams and other medical services. Walang Gutom Program 2027 will be rolled out to over 300,000 food-poor households by the end of this year. Launching of DOH's comprehensive mental health plan. Production of textbooks will be cut short from 3 years to 1 year to ensure that instructional materials are error-free and up-to-date. DepEd, CHED, DOLE, and TESTA join forces to incorporate technical vocational education and training in school curriculums to boost student employability. Implement of Philippine e-visa will be next in the digital transformation agenda. Balikat sa Pagtuturo Act signed into law to provide public school teachers with annual teaching allowance starting from 2025, upskilling teachers at the forefront of national learning recovery, including an expanded system for teacher development, special hardship allowance and personal accident insurance from the government service insurance system for public school teachers, Scholarships and research and development grants will continue to be made available to support startups. 250 air and seaport development projects set to be completed by 2028. Technical and professional level training courses in cybersecurity and creative industries will be launched, and promote experiential tourism to boost the country's tourism industry. Defense Secretary Rodrigo Jr. said on Monday that the Philippines was hoping to seal visiting forces deals similar to the reciprocal access agreement with three other countries next year to allow greater interoperability. According to Derodono, the RAA with Japan, which allows it to deploy troops and equipment to Manila, will not be the last. Well, we are going to work on an RAA, hopefully with Canada, with France as my counterpart, Minister Le Cornu and I announced last year, with New Zealand and with other countries, he said in an ABS-CBN News Channel interview. They will allow armed forces of these countries to operate with the Philippine Armed Forces within the Philippine territorial jurisdictions and vice versa, Derodoro added. Aside from the RAA, which was signed on July 8 after 6 months of negotiations, the Philippines has similar visiting forces agreements with the United States and Australia. The Catholic Bishops' Conference of the Philippines, CBCP, released a prayer for peace, calling Oratio Imperata for peace. It said in a social media post that the prayer was approved during the 128th CBCP Plenary Assembly, which will be prayed from July 25, 2024 to January 1, 2025. The prayer goes as followed, which I'm not going to do it, but yeah, they will have a prayer. They will have a prayer from July 25, 2024 to July 1st, 2025. The Philippines has the highest rate of transmission of the human immunodeficiency virus, HIV, in the Asia Pacific, with an average 55 people diagnosed with the virus daily, according to the Department of Health. The country even has the fastest growing HIV epidemic in the region, according to the Joint United Nations Program on HIV/AIDS. Its Deputy Executive Director, Christine Stigling, who visited the Philippines last month, described the numbers regarding the Philippines as disturbingly high, with almost half the country's new infections among the youth between ages 15 and 24. Every hour, there are 3 new HIV infections in the Philippines. Every day, there are 4 AIDS or AIDS-related deaths. Every single one of these is avoidable, Stigling said. She cited President Ferdinand Marcos Jr.'s commitment in declaring HIV a national priority, as well as the country's inclusion in the Global HIV Prevention Coalition of UNAIDS, through which UN member states and other stakeholders are provided prevention services while being held accountable for reaching their targets. But for these efforts to succeed, she urged the government to invest in HIV prevention through increased financing for programs to address the low HIV knowledge and early unprotected sex among young people and key populations including MSMs, men who have sex with men, transgenders, drug users, inmates, and sex workers. Stigling also asked the government to expand HIV services, strengthen community-led prevention, develop a sustainability plan, and address stigma and discrimination. On May 6, the DOH released a circular adopting the new Equality Guide in helping reduce HIV transmission and remove the stigma associated with the illness. The new messaging, which stands for Undetectable equals Untransmissible, aims to promote the finding that persons living with HIV or PLHIV who achieve and maintain a viral load viral load, the amount of HIV in the blood at undetectable levels could no longer transmit HIV to others and are at low risk of transmitting the virus to their children. This provides guidance on the powerful evidence for U equals U messaging and the opportunity to destigmatize or destigmatize HIV and promote viral suppression, stated the DOH circular, which also cited an advisory last year by the World Health Organization. The WHO had adopted scientific findings from the 2023 International Conference on HIV Science, as well as 244 studies published in the Lancet Medical Journal. The DOH circular encouraged the active promotion of U equal U among health facilities and workers. Dr. Brendan Norella, Program Manager of the Philippine Response in Optimizing Testing, Empower Communities, Treatment and Sustainability, or PROTEX, described the U equal U campaign as a powerful tool to help discourage stigma and change mindsets. PROTEX is a grant recipient of the Global Fund, the world's largest funder of HIV, tuberculosis, and malaria programs. With other new developments, the U equal U campaign will hopefully lead to a more enlightened approach to more people undergoing HIV testing, further adherence to treatment and healthcare, and better mindsets, he said. Other tools that people may avail themselves of include the self-testing and rapid testing, pre-exposure prophylaxis, a pill taken to prevent getting HIV from sexual contact and injecting drug use, and post-exposure prophylaxis, which prevents contracting the virus even when one is exposed. Norella said it is important to flip the narrative by creating spaces for people to tell their stories and claim their rights. It is as crucial to help people stay away from internalized or self-stigma that manifests in self-loathing and self-blaming. Feeling unlovable makes people not seek medical assistance and to not adhere to medication for those under treatment, he said. Professor Yvonne Gilnes, chair of the British HIV Association, called on journalists, policymakers, and academics to use compassionate words that can build dignity. Be kind, be inclusive. We're still a long way to remove the stigmatizing situations and incidents, but I would like to encourage changing our language, she said in an online forum on the importance of language in HIV response held in the run-up to the 25th International AIDS Conference in Munich this week. The Philippines and the United States are set to conduct a foreign and defense ministerial dialogue, otherwise known as 2+2, on July 30. The Department of Foreign Affairs confirmed the matter in a statement issued to Democratic reporters late Monday night. Secretary for Foreign Affairs Enrique Manalo and Secretary of National Defense Gilbert Derdon Jr. will host the United States Secretary of State Antony J. Blinken and Secretary of Defense Lloyd J. Austin III in Manila on 30th of July 2024 for the 4th Philippines U.S. Foreign and Defense Ministerial Dialogue, or 2+2 dialogue, said DFA. The agency said during this year's 2+2 dialogue, the four secretaries are expected to discuss the following: how to further enhance our two countries' ironclad commitment to this alliance while enabling a common program in support of the rules-based international order, enhance economic ties, broad-based prosperity, solutions to involving regional and global security challenges. And apart from the dialogue between top foreign affairs and defense officials, the DFA said Secretaries Blinken and Austin are also scheduled to pay a courtesy call on President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. during their visit. According to DFA, the last iteration of the 2+2 dialogue was held in April 2023 in Washington, D.C. All right, guys, it is now 50 minutes past 7. It's actually 60 now, so 60 minutes up past 7. And we will have more headlines right here on koolNews Early Edition, so don't go away. We will be right back. And we are back with more cool news early edition. Okay, so let's continue with the see what if there are anything new so far. Okay, let's just check. Let's just check if there are anything new so far. Okay, none so far. So we will continue covering the business news that were published earlier at around 2 o'clock. Okay, public sector appetite for foreign debts increased in the second quarter after the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas approved $3.9 billion of fresh external borrowings by the government to fund sustainability and infrastructure projects. The amount of new external debts cleared by the Monetary Board, the highest policy-making body of the BSP, was 43% higher compared with a year ago. Data released on Monday by the central bank showed. Dissecting the BSP's report, the public sector foreign borrowings approved by the MB in the second quarter consisted of the $2 billion that the Marcos administration raised during its first trip to the international debt market this year. Recall that the government sold $1 billion each via 10-year debt securities and 25-year sustainability notes during its US dollar bond offering last May. The BSP dash approved external debts also consisted of project loans with a combined worth of $1.9 billion. These borrowings will fund the national government's general budget financing and refinancing of assets in line with the Republic of the Philippines Sustainable Finance Framework, $2 billion, and transfer infrastructure projects, $1.9 billion, the PSP said. Under the law, prior approval of the MP is required for all foreign loans to be contracted or guaranteed by the government. Similarly, all foreign borrowing proposals of the government, including those of agencies and state-run financial institutions, are required to be submitted for approval in the principle by the MP before the commencement of actual negotiations. These steps are meant to help the BSP ensure that external debt requirements are capped at manageable levels, which is part of its mandate to support external debt sustainability. The Marcos administration is planning to borrow a total of 2.57 trillion pesos from creditors at home and abroad in 2024 to help bridge its budget deficit, which is projected to hit 1.5 trillion pesos this year. Finance Secretary Ralph Recto had said the government would remain prudent in its debt management by continuing to adopt a 75-25 borrowing mix in favor of domestic sources. Early this month, Recto said the government was eyeing a return to the US dollar bond market and the possible sale of sovereign bonds to raise an additional $3 billion as part of its external borrowing plan for this year. Okay, nothing new so far. Well, let's move forward to the yesterday's international headlines, as we were able to cover due to the sonar coverage last week. Not last week, I mean yesterday. I'm sorry, but yeah, we will be getting into the international headlines that we will be covering that we were not able to cover the yesterday editions of koolNews due to the sonar coverage. Now let's start with the yesterday's international headlines in case you have missed it. Taiwan launched annual war games on Monday, aiming to more realistically simulate an attack from China, dropping drills deemed to be out of touch with the growing threat of conflict. Some ruled Taiwan's military has discarded exercises that were more for demonstration purposes, such as live fire drills, laid on for the media on the main island, said new Defense Minister Wellington Koo. Officials have said such drills will now be held on Taiwan's outlying islands, where Chinese vessels and warplanes have edged closer in recent months, and that troops would now take part in the impromptu exercises. The changes come as Beijing, which claims Taiwan as part of its territory, has increased its military presence in the skies and waters around the island. Nowadays, the situation is more threatened than before, so this type of public relations exercise is useless, Seafood of Taiwan's Institute of National Defense and Security Research said of previous drills. He said Koo is putting pressure on our conservative military, forcing them to conduct exercises that are more realistic to actual war. Koo has eliminated good step, marching, and bayonet training for the military in the 2 months since he was appointed, saying they were ineffective in modern situations. Another change for the drills is the new focus on decentralizing the command structure, which the defense military said would familiarize troops with the increasing complexity and uncertainty of the battlefield. Participants were previously briefed on every scenario they would face, but this year the troops are not told in advance and they have to respond as spontaneously, said military expert Soo-Yeon. This is more in line with the real situation, he said, calling it the most crucial point for the reform of Taiwan's military. It can improve the moral and self-confidence of the participating troops, Su told AFP. The Navy conducted an emergency departure of the coast of Taiwan's northern Lilan County on Monday morning as part of a rapid response exercise, the Defense Ministry said. Koo, wearing military fatigues, oversaw a drill registering reservists for emergency mobilization in northern Taoyuan. Major drills were also expected this week in eastern Hualien County, home to an air base for fighter jets, and on the island of Penghu in the narrow waterway separating Taiwan from China. China has said it will never renounce the use of force to bring Taiwan under Beijing's control. Beijing launched war games 3 days after President Lai Ching-te was sworn in May as punishment for an integration speech it called a Convention of Taiwan Independence. Chinese Coast Guard ships have also ramped up their presence around Taiwan's outlying islands, and Chinese aircraft are more frequently sighted near the main island, according to daily reports from Taipei. The military could become less sensitive with such actions being normalized, said retired Major General Richard Yu, who this boiling frog syndrome could really trigger catastrophic consequences when China decides to launch its full-scale invasion of Taiwan someday in the future, who told AFP. Japan has recently concluded that the ground landing in Taiwan by Chinese troops will now be visible in less than a week, instead of a previous estimate of a month. The International Crisis Group's Amanda CEO said it was critically important for Taiwan to accelerate its defense reforms, which will require dividing the attention of its troops between the everyday challenges of Chinese military pressures and a potential invasion. Without clarity of vision, there's a risk that Taiwan is ill-prepared to deal with both types of threats, she said. Asked about the war games, Chinese Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Mao Ning said any attempts to accelerate tensions, seek independence by force, or resist unification by force are bound to fail. Trigger warning, it contains it will show a graphic content. I don't know, but yeah, trigger warning again, guys. Trigger warning, graphic content. Just to let you know, a New Zealand coroner has formally linked four deaths to the sale of suicide kits bought online from a former Canadian chef, according to findings published Monday. Coroner Alexandra Cunningham found that 3 students aged 18 to 21 and one 40-year-old personal trainer killed themselves after buying kits from businesses linked to Canadian Janet Lowe. Canadian police believe Lowe sent as many as 1,200 suicide kits to people in more than 40 countries between 2020 and his arrest last year, specifically targeting vulnerable people online. Canadian prosecutors allege that the kits contain a food additive that can kill if misused. Lowe was arrested in May 2023 and charged in Canada with 14 counts of murder and further 14 counts of aiding and counseling suicide. He has denied the charges. Alerted by Interpol, several other countries have launched investigation. In Britain, at least 272 people purchased products from Lowe's website and 88 of them died, police there have said. In Italy, 9 buyers have been identified and at least 1 victim has died. The Canadian victims were both male and female between the ages of 16 and 36, according to the police. New Zealand's Suicide Prevention Office has asked internet service providers to block Lowe's website in New Zealand, the coroner added. All right. Well, we just have received a brand new headline. Yeah, this is pretty recent. Doctored images, sexual slurs, racial innuendos, false narratives around Kamala Harris surged online as she emerged as the Democratic frontrunner in the U.S. presidential race, with researchers warning of an incoming flood of gendered disinformation. President Joe Biden exited the race on Sunday and endorsed Harris, the first Black, South Asian, and woman vice president in U.S. history, who vowed to win her party's nomination to take on Donald Trump in November. An online explosion of misogynistic and sexist narratives about Harris quickly ensued, including previously debunked falsehoods. Some social media posts repeated suggestions Harris slept her way to the top in American politics, citing her brief relationship in the 1990s with former San Francisco Mayor Willie Brown. The charge was refloated by conservative influencers such as Candace Owens, Matt Walsh, and Clay Travis. Meanwhile, posts on the platform X recirculated a doctored image of Harris appearing to pose alongside disgraced financier and convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. The picture, debunked years ago by AFP's fact-checkers using a reverse image search, had been manipulated to include Epstein instead of Harris' husband, Douglas Elhoff. Online posters also derided U.S.-born Harris as a black African woman, with some attributing her success solely to her and Big City. It's important to label these narratives and lies as what they are, an attempt to undermine a powerful woman's public service because of her gender, her background, her skin color, said Nina Janko-Ricks, co-founder of the disinformation watchdog American Sunlight Project. I challenge anyone who opposes Harris' candidacy to engage in the substantive debate on the merits of her policies and track record, rather than calling her disgusting names. In 2020, Janko-Ricks led a study that found more than 366,000 instances of gendered abuse and disinformation used to attack 13 women politicians, some 78% of that targeted Harris. The disinformation involved not just sexual tropes, but also false transphobic narratives, such as Harris could not have ascended politically without secretly being a man. Also included were racist narratives falsely asserting Harris was ineligible to run for office because both her parents were immigrants, while some insisted that she was expurgating her racial identities for political gain. Roberta Braga, executive director of the Digital Democracy Institute of the Americas, warned internet users to be alert for lies and conspiracies about Harris in the coming days. The misinformation will be laced with gender-based attacks, and it won't be new, Braga said. Women candidates of color in the 2020 elections were twice as likely as other candidates to be targeted with disinformation, according to a report from the Washington-based Center for Democracy and Technology. They were 4 times as likely as white candidates to be targeted with violent abuse, the report added. Gender disinformation with sexism and misogynity intersect with online falsehoods has relentlessly targeted women politicians around the world, tarnishing their reputations, undermining their credibility, and in many cases, upending their careers. AIP's global fact checkers have regularly debunked falsehoods targeting politically active women who are often sitting ducks for online abuse and sexually charged trolling. As the White House race, already vulnerable to an avalanche of disinformation, heads into its final months, researchers are braving for a flood of falsehoods targeting Harris. Widely available artificial intelligence tools are expected to add fuel to the fire on social sites such as X, the platform formerly known as Twitter and owned by Elon Musk, who is strongly backing Trump. Platforms including X have scaled back content moderation, removing many of the guardrails against false information, and restated accounts of known purveyors of falsehoods. We should expect a full spectrum of disinformation, said Ronald Dilbert, director of the Citizen Lab, a research center affiliated with the University of Toronto. That will range from well-organized and professional influence operations, in some cases backed by foreign adversaries, to Amir productions created by miscreants, Dilbert told AFP. Okay, let's just double check real quick. Okay, so apparently we'll be taking another ad break now as there are no new headlines, but we will be getting into entertainment and technology news at 8 a.m. hour. And if there's any more national headlines that will be available, we will also be covering that as well. With that, it is now 80 minutes before 8, and koolNews Early Edition will be right back. And we are back with koolNews Early Edition, so we have 10 minutes before 8 a.m. hour. Okay, so now let's continue where we left off. Okay, so let's check the inquire again if we have any fresh headlines. All right, so let's get into some Cebu news, shall we? Okay, let's begin. Mandu City launched the Move Mandu application on Monday, July 22nd for faster delivery of. Okay, the app aims to easily connect governance to residents through fast online communication. The app has links to government offices to easily connect their needs and announce the services offered. Some of the information that will be posted includes programs for senior citizens, the city's map with flood-prone areas, and the traffic situation. Like the RRM announcement, asa ang mga baha, high-risk areas makatak ang office. This is in Cebuano, usually Dawat National DRMM none. Kurun pwede ma-localize kanina si tas ang baham kani ng dili mag-agihan, said Attorney Litzer Malate, head of the city's business permit licensing office. The app launch was part of Mandagu's Smart City Intuitive. It can be downloaded on the Google Play Store for Android users. The Move Maduke app can also be used to connect to a limited free Wi-Fi that was already installed in 7 barangays. The city and its partner company, Sidnetcom Philippines Incorporated, aim to complete the installation of free Wi-Fi in the surrounding barangays and public spaces this year. The Wi-Fi will be installed in around 500 states or in 500 sites throughout the city. Mayor Jonas Cota said that the installation of free Wi-Fi will help residents with their classes, work, or everyday activity. For now, the Wi-Fi will be offered for free, but eventually it will be offered for limited hours, and if the person wishes to continue to use the Wi-Fi, they will need to pay a lower price. Ang application primary purpose nila is to minimize the digital divide. Alam naman natin na maraming taon kababayan na underserved, especially sa internet connectivity. Ang talagang purpose namin dito is to have affordable alternatives sa mga existing na mga internet connectivity na ibinibigay ng mga ibang providers, said Sidnetcom Philippines Incorporated EVP Chona Luyahan. The launching of the Move Menu app was attended by Sarafin Barneto Jr., DILG Undersecretary for Public Safety, and Undersecretary Aral Lieutenant Presidential Advisor on Military Affairs. Ito ang unang-unang ang Manduke Free Limited Wi-Fi. Ito na ang kanilang magiging benchmark na mga LGUs sa kanilang mga programa tungkol sa IT. Ito ang app na to ay malawak ang mararating at ang serbisyo ay mas maging mabisa separato. We are very happy. This is very inspiring for the city of Magdik and there's different cities and municipalities all over the country. The world has changed already. Our nation is continuously changing, and the city of Magdik is one of those that continues to innovate, and they are on the right track, said Kaludita. Meanwhile, Makabayan bloc lawmakers give gave a failing mark to President Ferdinand Marcos Jr.'s third State of the Nation address, Sona, calling it a presentation of anti-poll policies. In an unabashed interview during the event, House Deputy Minority Leader and ACT Teachers Party List Representative Franz Castro said that Marcos did not mention one of the most important issues surrounding the education sector, the the 50 pesos entry level pay for teachers. For government employees, including teachers, he supports Fortran SSL or salary standardization law is still just a promise and may again be a pretense like the SSLV, other salary adjustments, and the 35 peso minimum wage increase in NCR, she said. Also, instead of making job orders and contracts of workers regular, President Marcos Jr. will just extend their exploitation. As we have said before, we demand an end-to-end in government or endo in government, she added. Castro likewise pointed out that Marcos did not mention the salary increase and the lack of a considered plan on wage hikes for private sector workers, as well as on issues related to fake news and disinformation. He banned bogus, but this will not solve poverty, landlessness, malnutrition, foreign intrusion, lack of jobs, high prices of goods and services, lack of industrialization and exploitation, Castro pointed out. This does not end on POGO ban. Officials who protected POGO should also be held accountable, she added. For her part, House Assistant Minority Leader and Gabriel Women's Party Representative Eileen Rosas called his speech a blunted push for foreign interests at the expense of Philippine sovereignty and welfare. President Marcos Jr. Sona is a clear indication that his administration remains deaf to the plight of ordinary Filipinos. The glaring absence of any mention of a significant wage increase shows how out of touch this government is with workers' struggles, she said. How can he claim the U.S.-Philippine Sea is ours when he has allowed increased U.S. military presence in our country? Rosas said. From the Baliktaan exercises to the war-provoking missile system in Ilos Norte, and now the Japan-Philippines Reciprocal Access Agreement and the Agreement for Cooperation and Peaceful Uses of Nuclear Energy 123 Agreement, this administration is turning our nation into a playground for foreign military powers. Kung mayroon man isang tamang sinabi si Marcos Jr. sa kanyang speech, ito ay ang katotohanan, walang kwenta ang mga datos, lalo na sa kumakalam na sukmura ng milyon Pilipino. No amount of inflated data or empty promises can mask the growing discontent among Filipinos due to his anti-poor and anti-people policies, Rosas concluded. 2 minutes before 8 a.m. hour, and we'll be having one more headline before 8 a.m. hits. We'll get into the international headlines and we'll be, that's a little bit long, but yeah, so far we have covered almost every Sona we have covered almost the recap of what Marcos has covered Sona so far. So yep, and of course, guys, we have also covered the non-Sona headlines as well. As we will be now moving into doing the 8 p.m. hour of entertainment and technology news. Yes, of course, that will be part of early edition. Now for tech enthusiasts out there who want to hear tech news, this is the place. Alright, 1 minute before 8 a.m. hour, and you will be getting ready for 8 a.m. hour. So stand by, people. It is Hang on, let me check the clock here. Okay, 20 seconds before 8, and now we will be getting ready for an 8 a.m. hour of koolNews Early Edition.
This is koolNews Early Edition.
And good morning to everyone who just joined us right here at koolNews Early Edition. It's exactly 8 o'clock, and we'll be here to cover the latest news headlines that you might have missed from yesterday and today, including the entertainment headlines and technology news for this hour. And we will be here until 9 o'clock. Okay, so now let's get into the headlines. So far, in a 6 a.m. and 7 a.m. hour, we have covered the recap of the koolNews. I'm sorry, not koolNews, but the Solan 2024 headlines that Marcos has covered yesterday. So we have did a summary, not summary. So we have recapped everything what we covered so far. And now, as we have an hour to do koolNews here, we will now be moving on to the mostly international news now, and of course we'll be getting into entertainment, showbiz news, and technology news. This is coming from Reuters now. For U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris building Democratic backing for her sudden presidential run, rallying supporters on Monday with a debut campaign speech, vowing to go up the Republican nominee Donald Trump like the courtroom speak prosecutor she once was. Oh, this is already I already read that one earlier, but you'll read that again. I took on predators of all kinds, predators who abuse women, fraudsters who rip off consumers, cheaters who broke their rules for their own gain. Harris told campaign workers 28 hours after President Joe Biden, age of 81, abandoned the 2024 White House race and endorsed her. So hear me when I say I know Donald Trump's type. In this campaign, I'll proudly put my record against his, said Harris, who was Attorney General of California and a U.S. Senator before serving as Biden's vice president. Trump is due to be sentenced in September after having been found guilty of falsifying business records to hide hush money payments to a porn star. He also faces criminal charges related to his efforts to overturn Biden's 2020 victory. He falsely claims he lost because of election fraud. Biden, who pulled out of the race on Sunday amid questions about his age and health, called into Harris' campaign event. Recovering from COVID-19 at his home in Delaware, he sounded aroused but appreciative of his vice president. He said he thought he had made the right decision by dropping out. Biden, the oldest person ever to occupy the Oval Office, said on Sunday he would remain in the presidency until his term ends on January 2025. Harris, age of 59, outlined a series of policies she promised to pursue, including signing laws to protect abortion rights and ban assault rifles, and making rebuilding the middle class the focus of her presidency. Within minutes of receiving Biden's backing on Sunday, Harris began consolidating Democratic support for her presidential bid, securing commitments from hundreds of convention delegates, announcing a massive fundraising haul, and earning endorsements from top party figures. These included former Speaker Nancy Pelosi, who has remained influential since stepping down as the party's House of Representatives leader in 2022. The AFL-CIO Labor Union Federation, which represents 12.5 million workers, said on Monday it had also endorsed Harris for president. The Harris campaign aims to secure commitments from a majority of the nearly 4,000 Democratic delegates to next month's Democratic Party convention by Wednesday evening, sources told Reuters, effectively wrapping up the nomination. Campaign officials and allies have made hundreds of calls urging delegates to nominate Harris for president in the November 5 election. Harris' campaign said it raised $81 million in the 24 hours following Biden's exit, the most for a single day in the 2024 campaign for either party. Virtually all of the prominent Democrats who had been seen as potential challengers to Harris have declared support for her, including Governors Gretchen Whitmer of Michigan, Gavin Newsom of California, and Andy Beshear of Kentucky. Biden's departure was the latest shock to a White House race that included his disastrous June 27 debate performance against former President Trump and the July 13 near assassination of Trump by a gunman during a campaign stop. Harris lauded Biden for her service to the country. At the White House event to honor college athletes earlier, she said Joe Biden's legacy over the last 3 years is unmatched in modern history. Harris will travel to Milwaukee on Tuesday in the battleground state of Wisconsin, which last week hosted a Republican National Convention that offered a stark display of Trump's dominance over his party. Harris, who is Black and Asian American, would fashion an entirely new dynamic with Trump's age of 78, offering a vivid generational and cultural contrast. The Trump campaign has been preparing for her possible rise for weeks, sources told Reuters, and sent out a detailed critique of her record on immigration and other issues on Monday, accusing her of being more liberal than Biden. It alleged that Harris favored abolishing the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement Agency and decriminalizing border crossings, backed the so-called Green New Deal, supported the administration's electric vehicle mandates, and encouraged to defund the police efforts. Some of those were positions Harris adopted as an unsuccessful presidential candidate in the 2020 election when she was running on a more liberal agenda than Biden, but were not ones that the administration assumed, particularly with regard to border security and law enforcement issues. Eric Holder, the former U.S. Attorney General, and his law firm, Gilfilton and Borling LLP, will conduct the vetting of Harris' potential running mates, according to two sources familiar with the matter. Trump, whose false claims that his 2020 loss to Biden was the result of fraud, inspired the January 6, 2021 assault on the U.S. Capitol on Monday, questioned Democrats' right to change candidates. They stole the race from Biden after he won it in the primaries, Trump said on his Truth Social site. Harris is expected to stick largely to Biden's foreign policy playbook on such issues such as China, Iran, and Ukraine, but could strike a tougher tone with Israel over the Gaza war if she wins the November election. But some Democrats were concerned about the country's long history of racial and gender discrimination. The U.S. has not elected a woman president in its nearly 250-year-old history. Most public polls conducted before Biden dropped out did not find that Harris performed better statistically against Trump than Biden had. Biden has not been seen in public since testing positive for COVID on Wednesday. He intendedly plans to meet Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on Tuesday if he has recovered. Israel sent tanks back into the greater Khan Yunis area after ordering evacuations of some districts it said had been used for renewed attacks by militants, and at least 70 Palestinians were killed by Israeli fire, Gaza medics said on Monday. The Palestinians were killed by tank salvos in the town of Bani Suhaila and other towns flanking the eastern side of Khan Yunis, with the area also bombarded from the air, they said. Residents of the densely built-up area of southern Gaza said the tanks advanced for more than 2 kilometers or 1.2 miles into Bani Suhaila, forcing residents to flee under fire. It is like doomsday. One resident, who only identified himself as Abu Khaled, told Reuters by chat app. People are fleeing under fire, many are dead and wounded on the roads. The Gaza Health Ministry said the dead included several women and children and that at least 200 other people had been wounded. The Gaza Ministry does not distinguish between militants and civilians in its death tallies. The Israeli military said in a statement evacuation orders to the population in Khan Yunis resulted from intelligence information indicating militants were firing rockets from those areas and Hamas was attempting to regroup. Since this morning, the IAF and IDF auxiliary forces have struck more than 30 terror infrastructure sites in Khan Yunis, including in the area from which a projectile was launched toward Niram in southern Israel earlier today, the military said. Around 400,000 people were living in the targeted areas and thousands of families have begun to leave their houses, Palestinian officials said, adding they were not given time to get out of harm's way before the Israeli strikes began. Some families fled on donkey carts, others on foot, carrying mattresses and other belongings. The Palestinian Red Crescent Society said 2 of its clinics located in Khan Yunis have been knocked out of operation because of the new offensive. At Khan Yunis Nasser Hospital, some people stood outside the morgue to bid farewell to dead relatives. We are tired. We are tired in Gaza. Every day our children are martyred. Every day, every movement, said Ahmad Samor, who lost several relatives in bombings of eastern Khan Yunis. No one told us to evacuate. They brought forth floors crashing down on civilians, some more added. In nearby Deir al-Balah, where hundreds of thousands of Palestinians are sheltering, an Israeli airstrike hit a tent used by local journalists inside Al-Qusayr hospital, killing one of them and wounding 2 other people, the Hamas-run Gaza government media office said. The new media raised the number of Palestinian journalists killed in the Israeli offensive to 163, it added. Earlier on Monday, the Israeli military said it had issued new evacuation orders due to renewed Palestinian military attacks, including rockets launched from the targeted areas in Eastern Khan Yunis. The orders did not include health institutions, Palestinians said. The military said it was adjusting the boundaries of a designated humanitarian zone in coastal Al-Mawasi to the west of Khan Yunis to keep the civilian population away from areas of combat with Hamas-led Palestinian militants. The Gaza Civil Emergency Services said Israel's new orders showed it had downsized the humanitarian designated areas in certain and central areas where 1.7 million people were sheltering to 48 square kilometers or 18.5 square miles from 65 square kilometers or 25 square miles in the past. The Palestinians, the United Nations, and international relief agencies have said there is no safe place left in Gaza. Health officials at Nasir Hospital in Khan Yunis urged residents on Monday to donate blood because of a large number of casualties being rushed to the medical center. A family, including children, were all torn into pieces while they were sleeping, said one man who arrived at the hospital in an ambulance bearing the bodies. Israel has vowed to eradicate Hamas after militants killed 1,200 people and took more than 250 hostages in a cross-border assault on October 7, 2023, according to Israeli tallies. The death toll among Palestinians in Israel's retaliatory offensive since then had reached at least 39,006 as of Monday, Gaza health authorities said. A ceasefire effort led by Qatar and Egypt and backed by the US has so far fallen short because of disagreements over terms between the combatants who blame each other for the impasse. Okay, it is now 8:15, which is 15 minutes past 8, and we will have more headlines including entertainment and tech coming up right here on koolNews Early Edition, so stick around, we will be right back. Welcome back to Cool News Early Edition. Let's continue now. Okay, so let's continue where we are with the international headlines, and then we will be focusing on tech and on entertainment and technology news in Alaska. Okay, so let's look for the international headlines. Okay, remember the global IT outage that happened last Friday? Well, according to Delta, according to Delta CEO, they will see another flight, and not another. They will see flights disruption lasting for another couple of days. So, Delta Airlines CEO Ed Bastian on Monday said it will take the U.S. carrier another couple of days before its operations recover from a global hyper outage that snarled flights around the world. The Atlanta-based carrier has been hit hard by the outage. It has canceled over 4,000 flights since Friday, stranding thousands of customers across the country. By contrast, disruptions at another major U.S. carrier had largely subsided. On Monday, Delta had canceled over 800 flights, or about 21% of the scheduled total as of 3:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, according to data from FlightAware. It accounted for about half of total flight cancellations. A software update by global cybersecurity firm CrowdStrike triggered system problems for Microsoft customers, including many airlines, on Friday. In the video message to employees on Monday, Bastian and Chief Information Officer Rahul Samant provided an update on the situation. Bastian said the company is working around the clock to get its operation back on track, but it will take another couple of days before the worst is over. Today will be a better day than yesterday, and hopefully Tuesday and Wednesday will be that much better again. The company shares closed down about 35% off at $43.83. About 68% of most critical applications that Delta uses are Microsoft Windows-based and were rendered inoperable early on Friday following CrowdStrike's faulty Windows update, the airline said. Delta's IT teams required to manually repair and reboot each of the affected systems, with additional time needed for applications to synchronize and start communicating with each other. But its crew tracker application, which ensures all flights have a full crew in the right place at the right time, is requiring the most time and manual support to synchronize, Delta said. Everything except the critical system is up and running, someone said, and that is what we are working on feverishly. Delta is widely respected for running a reliable operation. Analysts say its on-time performance in terms of arrivals and departures has helped the airline segment its position as a premium airline. The issue has left customers fumbling. Many complained that they had to wait hours for assistance as the airline's helplines were overwhelmed. Some were forced to rent cars to drive hundreds of miles, while others said they would have to wait days for new flights. I was very disappointed in the way Delta handled this, wrote Bob Perlman on LinkedIn, who had booked a flight from Honolulu to Salt Lake City. Bastian said the outage hit the airline on the busiest travel weekend of the summer, limiting its accommodation capacities. The company said its crews are fully staffed and ready to serve our customers. In a staff memo seen by Reuters, Delta said it is doing everything possible to bring stability to its staffing. It has boosted executive pay for pilots and flight attendants. The single biggest thing you can do to help at this point is to pick up troops in any base, it said in the memo. A request for crew to volunteer for extra staffs. Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg said on Sunday his office had received hundreds of complaints about Delta's customer service and asked the airline to provide prompt refunds, free rebooking, and timely reimbursements to customers. And we have some just in technology news, oh great, they want me to register for Reuters website. Yeah, no thank you. But yeah, we have some news that just came in as Google scraps plans to you know, you heard that right, guys. Google has scrapped plans to remove cookies from Google Chrome. So what was initially planned for Google to do it has now been scrapped. So let me find one real quick. So again, this is supposed to be coming from Reuters, but I switched to 9 to 5 Google. But I switched to 9 to 5 Google as I was not able to read. As I apparently, according to Reuters, I have reached the free article limit, so I can't read it more. But again, here we go. This is coming from Google. In a rather stark turnaround, Google is no longer ending support for third-party cookies in its Chrome browser. In 2020, Google announced its plan to phase out support for third-party cookies, as well as cross-site tracking identifiers, fingerprinting, and other similar methods in Chrome by 2022. The plan was to replace it with privacy-conscious alternatives to not disrupt the web's advertising model. This was then postponed to 2023 and then 2024, while a third delay to sometime in 2025 was announced in April. In January, Google started a wider pace of testing with tracking protection being the user-facing branding for the change. A browse with more privacy message explained how you're one of the first to experience tracking protection, which limits sites from using third-party cookies to track you as you browse. Instead of deprecating third-party cookies, Google revealed today that it will introduce a new experience in Chrome that lets people make an informed choice that applies across their web browsing. As for why, Google says that the transition away from third-party cookies would have required significant work by many participants. The impact on publishers, advertisers, and everyone involved in online. Okay, again, it lagged for whatever reason, but we have to keep going. The impact on publishers, advertisers, and everyone involved in online advertising is cited today. One example of the additional privacy controls coming to Chrome is IP protection in incognito mode. IP protection proposes to anonymize the user's IP address to help protect it from being used by third parties identified as potentially using IP addresses for web cross-site tracking. IP protection proposes a two-hop privacy proxy that anonymizes qualifying traffic. IP protection won't launch as a default setting for Chrome users before 2025. Google will also continue to make the Privacy Sandbox APIs available and invest them in to further improve privacy and utility. And as we finalize this approach, we will continue to consult with the CMA, ICO, and other regulators globally. We look forward to continue collaboration with the ecosystem on the next phase of the journey to a more private web. We're discussing this new by regulators and will engage with the industry as we roll this out. So again, this is a very surprising news from Google. We will be talking more about this on Ask Chris Cafe, which is currently in its final week before the replacement came in, which is called the Fit Farm Podcast, which is a successor to Ask Chris Cafe. Again, we'll be talking about this later on Ask Chris Cafe. All right, as we are already in the tech news anyway, let's get into the tech news as what it would be called Google TV Streamer is going to replace the Chromecast. Yep, it's going to replace the Chromecast device. So what we are seeing here right now, what we are seeing on 95 Google is that they're going to be ditching the compact dongle form factor that plugs into your TV and remains out of sight. So what you're seeing in the images is that we are seeing the um, remote on the left and the box on the right. So this is so Google is aiming for a set-top tabletop design that has a slanted pill-shaped surface. It's rather wide, compared to other streaming boxes, and unclear if it serves any functional purpose. For example, this would be great for ultra-wideband powered tap-to-cast that was announced for the Pixel tablet earlier this year. This is joined by a pill-shaped base, with the entire thing vaguely looking like a miniature Pixel tablet charging speaker dock. Two cables, presumably power and HDMI, protrude from the back. Overall, it should have a minimal height presence underneath your television. Meanwhile, the remote looks similar, but it's longer. After the D-pad, you have back and home buttons on the first row. The voice input key is no longer Google Assistant, branded with a generic microphone used instead in a sign of the times. It has raised a bump since the splash of color is used for the home key. The volume rocker has been moved to the face of the remote instead of the right edge. Very surprising. So that's a good thing, I would say. While you now get a mute button too. Shorts for YouTube and Netflix, as well as power and the magic start shortcut round things out. With its drastically different design, we're also getting a new name. The Google TV streamer keeps the Google TV branding, but drops Chromecast in a surprising turn for the legacy monkier. It remains to be seen whether the company will keep selling the Chromecast with Google TV HD, although it does follow Google Cast replacing the Chromecast built-in brand earlier this year. Alright, so yeah, now let's get back into international hotlines where I inquire, since I cannot use routers now. Let's see if we have any updates so far. Yes, we do have an update, and it is about the cancelled flight, so let's get into that real quick. Several flights were cancelled on Tuesday due to unfavorable weather conditions, the Manila International Airport Authority advised. So here are the following list of cancelled flights as of 7:30 a.m. Shenzhen Airlines, CH90119012, Manila Shenzhen to Manila. Paul Express, 2B2932-2933, Manila Baxco, Manila. 2B2014, 2014-2015, Manila to Quezon, Manila. Cebu Pacific, 5J504-505, Manila to Quezon, Manila. Subgo, DG6031-6032, Manila San Jose, Manila. DG6113-6114, Manila Gaga, Manila. I really am tired. But yeah, we will be here until 9. So yeah, we will be here until 9 to deliver the headlines. And And we're going back to Cebu news now, as it was a day filled with comments, banters, opinions, and even memes. All that fuss over a very controversial incident that involved a local personality, Juice Balcalso. Balcalso is now in hot waters after a post of her reprimanding a staff member at the restaurant last Sunday, July 31, went viral. Allegedly, Balcalso was not pleased when the server addressed her as Sir, resulting in Balcalso deciding to educate the server. In the viral post, it was said that the server was standing in front of Balcalso for almost 2 hours. The issue became the hottest topic in Cebu, and just a few hours before Monday ends, Balcalso again took to her Facebook account to air out her side. She mentioned that she already have sat down today with the management, one crew member, and the store supervisor who were present during the incident. Unfortunately, the server involved was not present. However, Balcalso shared that they have come to an agreement that they will be working closely in pursuing a more inclusive practice in the restaurant. I also realized that in the impassioned pursuit of my advocacy, I could have done with a little measure of kindness, sadly quite absent in the list that this has all unnecessarily created when it was made public without our knowledge. I made a personal apology to the group present and requested if I may do so for the concert waiter. I am also making it very public with this post, as it has become quite public fodder, which reads part of her most. She also clarified that she did not deliberately ask the waiter to stand in front of her. I would like to also reiterate that I did not demand that the waiter stand for the whole length of time. I was explaining my side of the gender sensitivity issue. It was he who chose to stand in front of me as we waited for input from management, who I attempted to contact, while also added. Balcalso also sends her apology to the rest of the staff members who may have had a hard time when the incident happened and for how it has escalated. Citing that she may have overstepped in trying to educate people on gender sensitivity, this is a huge chunk of humble pie that I must ingest because I have ear. Mainly, we start here with, as the supervisor pointed out, an uphill path to consultation, and we hope you will be able to allow us and yourselves to do so unhampered, so we may all learn and heal from this, she said. May have shared her thoughts and opinion about the incident, and one notable comment came from manager and columnist Ogie Diaz. Okay, it is now 90 minutes before 9, and we will be serving entertainment headlines that is coming up next, along with technology news right here on koolNews Early Edition. So stick around, we will be right back. Welcome back to Cool News Early Edition. Let's continue with the headlines. As what you're seeing on the screen right now is that this is the current weather situation in the tollways, as you can see. All right, now let's continue now with the headlines in case you might have missed. So let's get into it right now. Okay, so now let's get into entertainment news as we have promised for the last step of Cool News. Okay, it looks like that the entertainment news is a little bit slow on Inquirer, but that is okay, I guess. So, well, it is what it is, guys. Okay, so now let's get into the yesterday's entertainment news. Hollywood was quick to react to the news that President Joe Biden was ending his bid for re-election and endorsing Vice President Kamala Harris. Barbara Streisand, a Democratic supporter, wrote Sunday on X that we should be grateful for his upholding of our democracy. While many paid tribute to Biden's presidency, others wondered about the future. Cher wrote on X that she was tortured because she doesn't believe the Biden. I'm sorry, she doesn't believe the Democrats could win without Biden. She said it was time to think way out of the box and propose a split ticket. In recent weeks, several high-profile Hollywood names had begun calling for Biden to exit the race. Just weeks after headlining a record-breaking fundraiser for the president's re-election campaign, George Clooney wrote a New York Times opinion piece calling for Biden to end his bid. Clooney argued that the party should pick a new nominee, saying the process would be messy but wake up voters in the party's favor. Under others who attended or participated in the story fundraiser in Los Angeles included Julia Roberts, Jimmy Kimmel, former President Barack Obama, Jack Black, Shirley Ruff, Kathleen Hinn, and Jason Bateman. Ruff on Sunday posted a photo of herself and Harris, writing, "President Biden has endorsed Kamala Harris." So here are the notable celebrity reactions, starting with Barbara Streisand. Biden will go down in history as a man who accomplished significant achievements in his 4-year term. We should be grateful for his upholding of our democracy, via a post on X. In my heart, I am tortured because I don't believe the Democrats can win. This is coming from Cher. The presidency would press Biden, Joe, whom I love since we met in 2008. I campaigned for him. I believe it's time to pass the baton. Time for them to think way out the box. Maybe even a split ticket. Joe Biden has a record of accomplishments unmatched by any president in our lifetime. He restored honesty, dignity, and integrity to the office after 4 years of lies, crime, scandal, and chaos. Thank you for your service, Mr. President. Now, it's now our duty as patriotic Americans to elect the Democrat who will honor and further your legacy via a post on X. The star visited Biden in the Oval Office in May, jokingly calling him Joe B1 Kenobi. That's what Mark Hamill said. Next from George Kaway, I want to honor our president, Joe Biden. He has served our nation admirably for decades. He is a decent, honorable man, usually successful president, and a patriot. Now let us unite behind Kamala Harris and defeat Donald Trump in November via a post on X. And Rosa Grant said Joe Biden has endorsed Kamala Harris for the Democratic nomination after ending re-election bid. We're in a wild world, mate, via a post on X. Grant recently said voters should pick Trump over Biden. Okay, 5 minutes before 9 o'clock. Okay, so let's see if we have any new headlines. Okay, so I think we are done with entertainment for now. Let's check the technology news as we might be done too with the national headlines for now. Let's check the Verge. Normally I don't do tech news since I only cover tech on one of my Cool FM show, which is Asterisk Cafe, soon to be replaced with the Vic Farm podcast and my other show for the Wednesday and Thursday. Okay, so let's see. Yes, we're going to be reading about CrowdStrike. So this is coming from The Verge. CrowdStrike CEO George Kurtzit was called to testify before the House Homeland Security Committee over the major outage affecting Windows PCs spurred by a faulty update that brought flights, hospital procedures, and broadcasters to a halt on Friday, the Washington Post reported. Recognizing that Americans will undoubtedly feel the lasting real-world consequences of this incident, they deserve to know in detail how this incident happened and the mitigation steps CrowdStrike is taking. Homeland Security Chair Mark Green and Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Protection Subcommittee Chair Andrew Guarino wrote in a letter later shared with The Verge. They asked that CrowdStrike schedule a hearing with a subcommittee by end of day Wednesday. The letter signals that the cleanup for the technical failure is far from over for CrowdStrike. Even on Monday, 3 days after the initial meltdown, Delta was dealing with flight cancellations and blue screens of death. Cruz assured the public on Friday in the social media post that the massive outage was not a security or hyper incident. Instead, he pointed to an issue with a fault content update for Windows hosts, referring to the company's security software. CrowdStrike spokesperson Kevin Ben-Naxi said in a statement the company is actively in contact with relevant authorities. Briefings and other engagement timelines may be disclosed at members' discretion. Excuse me. And speaking of CrowdStrike, Microsoft has released a recovery tool that's designed to help IT admins repair Windows machines that were impacted by CrowdStrike's faulty update that crashed 8.5 million Windows devices on Friday. The tool creates a bootable USB drive that IT admins can use to help quickly recover impacted machines. So yeah, there you go. So it is that's tech news for today. Right on Cool's early edition. Okay, it is now 45 seconds after 9, and that is it for Cool News early edition. As always, thank you so much for your continuous trust and support, and for joining us to start your day with us right here on Cool News early edition. We will be back with more headlines later at Cool News at 11, Cool News at noon, 4, 6, and 9 with Cool News Prime Time. Until then, I am Asper, and I also know, I am Cairo, aka Asper, and we will see you later for more headlines at 11. Goodbye for now, and good morning.